I've heard that people memorize differently, right? So some people are visual learners, some people memorize by hearing it, some people memorize by, I don't know how they can touch it, but maybe like sense memory, sense memory is something that's brought in. Actually, that's the only probably part of memory that's brought into, classes, talked about in classes typically. What's your take on, is your technique shows different ways of memorization, or is it just like one sort of method that could be used by everyone? How does that?
So through my experience and through my research, I've kind of have a nuanced view of this, where I would say that there are certain basic universals. We all have a human brain, and through this research, they have found some basic principles that seem to be work for everyone, that are basic, how we evolved to think, but, having said that, through my work with different students, I have seen that people kind of have preferences, like where they'll latch on to a certain part of my technique, where they're like, I really like this part, and, I want to lean into that. And that's totally cool. I think like, what you like matters. And like, if you don't like something, or if it's not working for you, then try something else. So, how I do it in my course and with my students is that I have a method that's a comprehensive method that I teach to people. And if you wanted to, you can go through that process step by step, exactly how I present it to you, where it's very structured. I take it through like, this is step 1, this is step 2, blah, blah, blah. But I encourage people to modify that how they want to. I'm not dogmatic about my method. You know what I mean? Like if people want to, discard a little bit of this and like lean more into that, that's totally fine. I think, part of it is modifying it to find what exactly works for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So touch on a little bit of everything, and people just kind of like you take what resonates with you. And
I give them a lot of tools. And I present it in a very structured, comprehensive way. But, you are free to experiment and test things out for yourself to figure out exactly what's going to work for you.
So from my understanding, there are tools that are visual more, and there are tools that are more like audio, right? And people, is that what you mean by tools, like different techniques?
Yeah, I think I mean more just in terms of techniques and things. So if you have a preference for auditory or visual, you can, if you find that listening to your lines, you like that more, then that's fine. You can do it that way. But kind of the things that I teach have sort of more of a broader principle of things.
That's what clarification on. So it's like your technique is like, it's a standalone thing, and then they can take it and apply it as however is easier for them, right? The whatever method that they may be currently using, but you're just gonna.
Yeah. And in terms of, what you were saying of like, are people more visual or more kinesthetic or things like that? I sort of have the opinion that, acting is a full-bodied thing. Right. And I guess I'm thinking about how there is actually a little bit of research on this about, the question of, are people more different? Are there different learning types? And, what I've seen actually, what I've read anyway, is that what matters is that, what is the nature of the thing that you are doing? And does the way you practice match the nature of the thing that you are doing? Right. Mm-hmm. So if the thing that you're trying to learn or whatever is naturally a visual thing, then you should be using visual means to learn that thing. But it wouldn't make sense to be using auditory things if that, do you know what I mean? Like if the nature of what you are learning is not auditory, right? So, but if you think about what is the nature of acting, I think it's, you know, it's a full bodied experience, right? It's visual, it's kinesthetic, and it is auditory. It's all of that, right? So I think the more you bring all of that in to the memorization process, the practicing process, you know, it's kind of like the principle of, you practice like you play and you'll play like you practice, or practice as you perform and you'll perform like you practice. So that's kind of my philosophy on it.